All right, peace and blessings. It's May the 22nd, the year 2018, and all of these documents are on Free Lazor's webpage on yearofjubilee.com. But I wanted to read this one. I've got approval to publish it. It's a 2-page affidavit of David Parham. I have not read it. Let's read it together. September the 2nd, 1987. I, David Parham, declare the following statements to be true and correct based on my personal observation and interactions with P.F. Lazor. My family and I live at 19830 Ivy Road, Chelsea, Michigan, and have been in the community for 6 years. I'm employed as a technical writer at Chelsea Community Hospital and have been there for over a year. I previously owned and operated my own furniture manufacturing business, Silver Lake Manufacturing, and also worked for the Environmental Protection Agency as a computer documentation and support specialist prior to the CCH position. I'm active in the Chelsea Free Methodist Church, Boy Scouts, Chelsea Recreation Department, Ann Arbor Desktop Publishing Group, local track clubs, and am presently pursuing a graduate degree in technical communication at Eastern Michigan University. I have been married to my wife Linda for 10 years, and God has blessed us with 2 fine boys, Zachary 9 and Timothy 7. I have been a very close friend of P.F. Lazor since 1960, when we began kindergarten together at New Hudson Elementary. We lived but 2 miles from each other, and consequently I saw P.F. daily, on the bus, at school, playing ball, climbing trees, and riding bikes through the summers of our youth. As far as I know, we shared in a mutual first employment, working with some other kids in the area, picking up paper along the sides of the road by the local dump. I saw P.F. regularly after high school graduation in 1972, up until I went to college in Eureka, California in the fall of 1974, although I've only seen him a few times in the last 10 to 12 years. I nevertheless had the opportunity to talk to him over the phone quite often and have kept up with his many successes through mutual friends and local newspaper articles and press releases. P.F. was always a trusted acquaintance and someone who could be counted on to be true to his word. In the small village he and I hail from, his integrity and character are still legendary. One heroic incident in particular sticks in my mind from the early summer of 1974, when we were both about 20 years old. P.F. and I, with some others, were diving from the high cliffs of a gravel pit into a spring-fed lake some 30 to 40 feet below. I recall watching several people as they took turns at yelling, then running, and finally floating for what seemed like an eternity into the cold water. After each jump, they'd soon be out of the water and walk up the wall to try it again. After a while, I got up the courage to try it. Taking off from the appropriate spot, I launched myself feet first towards the water. Seconds after I broke the surface, the next thing I knew, I had crashed into the bottom of the lake hard. Eventually, I didn't get far enough out from the side to reach the safe deep water. All I felt was intense and excruciating pain. I was nearly unconscious and had seriously messed up my back and legs. I can still recall looking back up to the surface and seeing the sunlight streaming through while I withered in agony, knowing that somehow I'd have to get out or else I was a goner. From the top of the cliff, P.F. noticed my dilemma and he acted quickly. He knew from the sediment that came up that I was in trouble, and he responded by jumping in and pulling me to shore. P.F. was just one of the many individuals who stood on the top of the gravel pit wall that day over 15 years ago. Any one of them could have saved me from drowning. Yet the fact of the matter is that P.F., by instinctive reaction to a friend in need, was the first to realize that I had an accident and jumped in to save my life. During the late 1960s, many young people strove to turn on, tune in, and drop out. This was not only true in our region, but a condition of the Western world in general. Rock music, drugs, and free love were a part of the times. It was during this midst of this revolution, yet well before the me decade had its tag, that P.F. found his own inner voice speaking to him to clean up his act and to get serious about life. During the last 2 years of our high school, P.F. changed from a somewhat mediocre student seeking the next good time and a quick buck to a man on a mission. He became an honor student, wrote and performed songs, played the lead in a local production of Jesus Christ Superstar, published a book of poems, and appeared on local television. Our late friend Jeff Ferris, an exceptionally bright and gifted writer, put it best when he said, "P.F. is attempting to make himself into an intellectual, and by golly, he's getting there." I am thoroughly convinced from my lifetime association with P.F. that under no circumstances would he depart from his law-abiding nature or jeopardize his long-term interest or goals. I would have gladly served as a character witness in his 1983 trial, or if necessary, will be available for subsequent proceedings. This is written in his behalf in order to endorse his person, because I have never known him to be vicious, malicious, or one to even get even with anyone. P.F.'s methodical steps towards self-expression and the realization his full potential are of primary concern to him and all who have come in contact with him thus far. I declare under penalty of perjury that the foregoing is true and correct to the best of my knowledge. And it's signed David Parham.